Well, AJ, the one and only, the Ajush, you are finally here. And we tried to do this intro last week. And as expected, as Clayton always reminds us, there's going to be tech issues and they will happen all the time. And they did last week. So for everyone listening, AJ is one of our new project managers coming on board here really soon. And we're really excited that he's here. He's going to be on the podcast too. And speaking on our shows, and we're just so excited to have him. But anyways, last week was supposed to be his first show with us, and of course, tech was not going the way that we planned. So that really sucked. But it's good that you are here and your mic is working. And it looks like a cool sniper rifle, like I told you earlier. I had to say that one more time. Just looking at it. Clay, doesn't it look like a sniper rifle?
Yeah,
Or people on YouTube, if you're viewing, it looks like a sniper rifle to me.
yeah, Andrew's working with a ribbon mic. So for those of you who are aware, it actually is pretty much the shape and size of end of a rifle barrel. I mean, it's pretty much. I didn't see it before because I see a ribbon mic when I look at it, and now that you've said that on air, all I can see is somebody like threatening Andrew to be on the podcast.
I know. That's what I pretty much did to get him on. But anyways, I digress. But AJ, dude, it's so awesome to finally have you on the show, and like you have a mic and it's working. So we're pumped.
I'm so glad to be here, man. Like last week, technical difficulties obviously getting the better, but we did it.
Yeah,
A little bit of time in there, and we're here. I'm glad to be here, guys.
Yep.
dude, so stoked you're here.
So stoked. Yeah, so I mentioned a second ago. So Andrew is, I guess the best title right now would be a project manager or a co-host.
Top butthole. Sorry, and we were joking about that off air, and
whatever Clayton just said too. Yeah,
top
so
butthole.
he's gonna be all those things. So we are super pumped. But dude, how is actually before I hear about Marin County, how was the LA trip? I know you started to tell me about this a few times already, but how was the trip to LA during the Super Bowl?
It was awesome, man. Middle of February, and it was 92 degrees, I think. I mean, come on.
Woo!
It was beautiful. We got to see Summer, my girlfriend's side of the family, hung out with them a lot, and went disc golfing a couple times.
Nice.
And then obviously got to enjoy a good Super Bowl game. So all in all, it was a great trip. Had a great time down there.
But there's a few issues there with what you just said. So first, I have to say, you being excited that it's 92 in the winter. We'll save that talk for another time. But anyways, though, the other issue is who are you supposed to root for in that Super Bowl game? Like, I hate both of those teams. So I know since we have the same brain, that means you hate both teams. And so what did you even do during the game? Who did you root for? Please don't tell me you rooted for the Bengals.
They took my Raiders out. I mean, I couldn't root for the Bengals.
Thank you.
I couldn't.
Okay. And then it's LA, so what are you supposed to do? Root for an LA team? Like, come on.
I put a little bit of money on some squares, so I was rooting for a score. That's all I was rooting for. No teams, just a score, and I ended up winning something. So I think it worked out.
All right, that's fair enough.
Yep.
And how is life in Marin County been? That is the one part of the Bay Area I felt like I never spent enough time in, and just passing through, like even trips with you, AJ, when we went up to like Sonoma County in that whole area, like passing through Marin, it looks amazing, but I don't know if I've ever really stopped there though.
Honestly, before I started living here, I think I've only been here a handful of times growing up in the Bay Area. It's like exactly, we went straight up to Sonoma. We kind of dodged Marin County altogether. So I've been here about 5 years now, and I will say I kind of love it. It's not very cost efficient. It's a little expensive to be here, but
a polite way to say it.
Yeah, he's not even mentioning the fact that when we lived together in San Anselmo, we lived in one apartment for 3 years, and when we left, it had gone up like $1,350, like almost $1,400. I tend to say $1,500. I think it was a little under $1,500, but 3 years—that's ridiculous.
It's a lot of money, is what it was at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you're saying you're loving it and everything.
Yeah, at the same time, like I have a handful of hiking trails and mountain biking trails in my backyard. I mean, I could just walk to them. I don't have to drive anywhere. I'm right towards downtown San Anselmo, right by all the restaurants, local supermarket. It's a beautiful area. I'm right on the San Anselmo Creek downtown as well. So any given day, I could just go outside, and I have like a mini zoo exhibit that
Yeah,
you can look at.
it's real.
It's just, full of animals and full of
Yeah.
nature, and it's a beautiful area for sure.
When I think of like the best views in the Bay Area, so I'm thinking Twin Peaks, top of San Francisco, looking over the bay. I'm thinking in my head,
Classic.
even though I don't know this, so you tell me if I'm wrong. Somewhere in Marin County up there, I feel like there has to be some incredible views of the ocean and of the bay. But do any compare to Fish Ranch Road, aka Grizzly Peak? Please tell me if there's any that compare to that, because it's hard for me to believe if there is.
I don't think so. I think that was probably the best view of the Bay Area I've seen, honestly. And when you're there, it just kind of looked like a poster on the wall. It looked fake almost.
Dude, right? Like, especially during the day, it looked like a green screen during the day when you went up there. You know what I mean?
So
And
I went up
go
there
ahead,
less
Clay.
often than you guys did, and I know I spent plenty of time, but I also have, I think, a worse memory than you guys do, and I don't remember that you had different views, right? Because at different points you're looking over at slightly different spots, right? I mean, you have the same general view,
Right.
but it's like of the Bay and San Francisco, right? Was that what it was, or was it the other side? I forget.
Yeah, so
Both,
you
I
could
guess,
see the main spot. So like as you're going up, there's like different places where you can stop and park, but the main part where we went to, the actual spot, it's in like the Orinda Hills directly above Berkeley.
Mhm.
So with that view, the first thing you see, you look down, you see Berkeley, you see Oakland, you see the Bay Bridge, San Francisco, and San Francisco, or excuse me, the Golden Gate Bridge. That's like the immediate thing in sight. But you can look as far south as like San Jose. I mean, you can't like
Wow.
see. I don't think you can see like downtown San Jose, at least not in my head, but you can see where San Jose is, and then you can see up north, more like toward Marin County and over there, and then like toward. I guess I can't remember if you can actually see Richmond, but like over there, kind of in that general area. So you can literally see just about everything.
Yeah.
It's something else. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the last few times I was there, it was super foggy, and so my memory of it is just like the fog and not the view as much. I think I got unlucky with my my last few trips, but
I
hey,
can't tell you how many times we went up there and we got kind of bummed out due to the fog. I'd say 5 out of 10 maybe.
it was like hit or
I
miss,
know.
huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And right when you're starting to go up the hill, you see that layer of fog, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to see anything. And we just wasted like a 30 or 40-minute trip. But it was still fun anyways, every time we went.
Always.
Would you say the view, I know they're different, at night or the day is better?
Oh man, that's
tough.
a tough one. That is a tough one. I got to go with the night.
Night, yep, I agree.
There's just something special about the night, just all the lights flickering around, and it's just there's so much life. It's beautiful to look at night.
Yeah, I'm such a sucker for those views still, dude. Like,
Mhm.
I think it came because of Grizzly Peak. That's why I'm like obsessed with views. And out in Arizona, there is some really cool views. Like, if you're hiking and stuff, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard when I have Grizzly Peak to compare to everything. Like, nothing looks like quite as good. It's like majestic. Did I just say that word, majestic? But yes, it is something else. Have you been there since like we would always go?
I've taken summer there once, and this was probably like maybe 3 years ago now. So I haven't been there since. It's been a
Okay.
while for sure, but maybe one time, 2 times in the last probably 6 years.
Okay.
Jake, don't you have the Grand Canyon out by you? How close are you to the Grand Canyon?
I think it is. I'm gonna look this up later because you asked. I think it's like at least 4 hours.
Oh, it's like almost not even.
So I know this sounds super weird, and I would be happy to go there. Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't have this like innate need to go see the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, that's
I know
fair.
that's very strange to say. Maybe that's because like I more think of the trip there with my children and how it would be an absolute nightmare to get there because my kids are like little baby demons in the car. So it would be that part wouldn't be too fun. But I'm sure once we got there, I'm sure it'd be pretty cool. You guys have been there, haven't you?
Nope.
No?
I've been there once. Yeah.
Nice.
You went there. Did you go there with King Rich?
King
Oh
Rich.
yeah, we actually went to Las Vegas and took a plane tour above the Grand Canyon.
Cool. Like a
Which
little,
was
like
really
a one,
nice.
like a little plane, or
Yeah, a little tiny plane. I think it had 8 people max in there, excluding
Sick.
the pilots. But
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Those
very
little
small
little
plane.
sketch planes.
My sister threw up.
She
Oh,
did.
no.
Yeah, she did.
She threw up inside the plane.
In the plane. She had a bag, but yeah, she did.
Brutal.
Okay. Did you guys touch down at all, or did you literally just fly over?
It was just a flyover.
Okay.
Saw the Hoover Dam and parts of the Grand Canyon.
Okay. What was it as amazing as everyone makes it seem?
Yeah, it's pretty
It was.
breathtaking. Yeah,
Cool.
I definitely
Okay.
want to be there on foot and like do some hiking around there. Get down in the canyon. It would be beautiful. Actually, it's just it's unreal when you look at it. It seems fake.
Yeah. How's the hiking over there in Marin? I feel
Oh,
that would
dude.
be an amazing place. And I feel you said something about hiking earlier too, I think. So
Yeah, there's a handful of hiking trails right outside my door. You can do anything from like an easy, maybe a couple 100 feet up hike all the way to going to Mount Tam, which has a laundry list of hiking trails. And that's going up about 3,200 feet, 3,000 feet. So anywhere from beginning hiking to pretty difficult stuff.
3,200. That's right there in like Marin,
Yeah,
Marin County.
Mount Tamalpais.
Okay.
Mount
Okay.
Tam.
What was that?
Mount Tam. I was just reading Andrew. It's a great. It's so much nature and so much trails out there. I remember when Andrew and I was living out there with Andrew, and I would be out like running with my dog, and like I don't think it happened more than maybe once, but it was always a chance that I would, Andrew would pop up on his bike, halfway through his ride, like down the mountain, which when that's right outside of your front door, you get spoiled,
Yeah.
Do you guys, or Clay, did you, when you lived there, ever go to the beaches like north of San Francisco in Marin County? So it'd be like, I guess, on the other side of the hill from where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Some good spots.
Yeah, I've been to Stinson Beach quite a few times.
Yeah.
Stinson. Okay. Is that
Beautiful.
cool?
Yeah, it's a nice hangout spot. It gets windy, but I mean, that's kind of like all the beaches over here anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a nice spot. They've got a really cool snack shack. They make some good burgers and, just some basic food.
I would love driving up the coast and going to the oyster farms and stuff that are up near the Point Reyes
that's
and stuff.
right.
That was the drive when we lived in Marin, when I lived in Marin. To take a half-hour drive up north and get fresh from the farm. They're farmed, but they're fresh from the coast oysters and
Like Tamales Bay.
Yeah, Tamales Bay. That's what it was.
I've never been to any of these places. I can't believe it. I lived in the Bay for almost 20 years and I haven't been.
But Jake, you don't
these
like
places.
oysters, right?
I don't know actually.
Do you like seafood?
Yeah. Dude,
Okay.
I'm game. Adeline and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, I'm game with like just about any food. There's a few foods that are just despicable and have no reason to be on the
Like
planet
what?
Earth. And so, okay, let's be real here. Let's think about this. And if you guys say I'm wrong, you're wrong. Okay, olives.
What? Olives are delicious.
Okay.
And a beautiful part of a balanced nutritional diet, Jake.
Okay, it's like someone dropped something in a sewer, took it out to dry, and then dropped it in a bowl of vinegar, then took it out to dry, and then consumed it, and then somehow decided to put these in fancy drinks or salads to make them more expensive and just make everything worse. It's the most pointless. I don't even want to call it a food. Like there's a different name for it. So olives, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the other food right now that I despise. There's two of them. Oh, okay. Canned green beans. There's the other
Okay,
one.
well that's fair actually.
Yeah.
Canned green beans, the mush that you get with canned green beans is you really kind of gotta get through that in the
Yeah,
best of
so-
times.
Wait, so
AJ,
but
are
you
you-
never have tried an oyster, right? Is that where we're getting at?
I don't think I've ever tried it. Are they legit or what?
I've tried one oyster and I was kind of scared to chew it. I just swallowed it, so I don't really have an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd eat it again ever.
Oh yeah, you're like kind of picky with food or like how it like the textures and stuff, right?
I've gotten so much better, but yeah.
Andrew
Yeah,
used to
I'm not trying
be
to.
like ketchup and hot dogs and like
When I was a
hamburger
kid.
meat. Yeah, like hamburger meat and the bread, right? And
Yeah, when I
ketchup.
was a kid, that was it pretty
Did
much.
you do
Oh,
cheese? You didn't do
that's
cheese,
right.
right?
Pizza,
Did you?
yeah, pizza,
All
hot
right.
dogs, mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
Oh, a good
That's
old,
what it
good old
was.
gourmet
the-
mac, dude.
All the nutritional, just good for you foods.
Okay, will you eat shrimp now though?
I don't care for shrimp, but If it was served, like if I was going to a nice dinner or something and somebody served me shrimp, I would eat it. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Even with the
I-
the poop vein?
Try to avoid that one.
And I asked too because like Adeline says she doesn't like shrimp, but it's really I just think she doesn't like the texture or the thought of like what she's eating. But the taste is so good, like especially when it's sautéed with other things.
Butter.
It's so delicious. Yeah, butter, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I did try was a Hangtown oyster. So I apologize. I tried oysters twice, and this was a deep fried oyster, and it was constructed in a taco.
Ooh.
And Summer and I have a funny story about that too. We both tried it for our first times, and we both spit it out in the same exact napkin.
It was that bad?
Disgusting. I will never eat it again.
Oysters are very chewy, for lack of better. They're like kind of chewy, crunchy. Like when you eat them, you do a little quick chew and then you swallow them. So it's not really even when you're eating, like even people who eat them a lot, like unless they're cooked the way Andrew's talking about. Sometimes you barbecue them and then you do chew them a little bit more. But it's like if you've had probably squid or calamari, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, a little bit more sinewy.
I feel like, or picturing them, I feel like they would taste like a giant loogie.
Yes,
how I would
kind of.
picture
It is. It's like okay, truffles are they taste like dirt. Oysters taste like so. Truffles taste like dirt in the best way. Oysters taste like loogies in the best possible way.
Fancy loogies. So it's
They're
basically
fancy
an
loogies.
olive, but in loogie form. Okay.
That's fair. That's definitely
it.
fair.
Okay, so if I make my way to Marin, then you're gonna have to take me to all those windy beaches and to get some oyster loogies then. Yeah. Okay.
You gotta open it yourself too, because that's the thing is you get them when they're closed and they're alive, and you crack them open and you suck them down live, and so like not only is it like a experience, but like it's an experience.
Okay.
I would give it one more shot with you, Jake, and we can try it together. Only if it's fresh. Like I'd like to crack it open, like Clayton was saying, and just
Okay.
try it super fresh like that. Maybe throw a little lemon on there,
A little hot sauce.
a little hot sauce.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, hot sauce
A
and
little
lemon go a
lemon.
long way.
You said hot sauce what?
Hot sauce and lemon go a long way to making the
Okay.
loogie taste delicious.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do that trip when I'm back. I would love to do that trip. Or when we get our in-person studio one day, we'll be somewhat close to going over there. So we'll make
Yeah.
that a trip. Especially if Andrew, if you're going to be there for a long time. I know you don't know exactly, of course, but if you are, then we'll have to make a little trip. We'll do some hiking. We'll go on the beach, and then we'll eat some oysters or whatever.
Sounds like a plan. Yep.
Yeah, because you like I always remember you being picky with the food, so this is going to be like a fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
With
Yeah,
you.
I've come a long way, man. So I'm definitely open to trying some stuff.
Did Summer push you over the limit to do that, or how did this come about?
I kind of got sick and tired of just saying no all the time and not knowing for myself. So I think
Nice.
Clayton and I worked at a really nice restaurant in Long Beach called James Republic,
Oh, I remember that.
and they were starting to serve up food that was just really high quality, cooked really well. And I was like, well, I mean, if I don't like this, then I for sure don't like that food.
Yeah.
So it was a good like starting point, I guess. Kind of
Yeah,
a little bougie on my end, like, oh, I'm only gonna try the best of the best, but
Yeah.
I know.
that's
you
how I
guys-
got started to trying new foods.
You guys brought me like a really fancy looking cheese plate at James Republic, and I was in heaven. I was so happy just eating all the different types of cheese. Clay, you might have been working. No, AJ, you might have been working. I can't remember,
We
but
might
when you
have
came
both
out
been
and gave us.
working. We worked
What
at the
was
bar
that?
together a lot of nights. We could have both been working. Actually, there was a good chance that you came with like Jake. We came with Jake. You're Jake,
like,
so
what?
you definitely came with Jake.
Yeah,
you
for
came
sure.
with Brian while Andrew and I were working. That's very possible too. Those were fun days.
Okay, yeah. I mean, cheese always makes for a great time. Like, let's be real. All right, well, guys, do you want to talk some fitness? Do you want to get into it?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Okay, well, we're going to start with a topic that I decided to bring up on the show because I was very excited about it and I experienced it again the other day. And that is why you should incorporate sled training into your workouts. Have either of you done sleds before? I forgot to ask you that before the show. Clay, yeah?
Oh,
AJ,
yeah.
you?
I have not done sleds yet.
Okay. You're
Sleds are
gonna love
great.
it. I'm just gonna assume it's really fun. So, why should you do sleds? Now, I do want to start by saying I'm a little bit biased since I just did this again and I got really excited because I hadn't done them in a couple years. But reason number one why you should incorporate sleds into your training is the versatility. There is such a diverse application with using that tool.
Yeah.
And this is spread across different goals that you have, or different programming that you may do, or energy systems. Now, for example, if you are going for something, say, like muscular endurance or stamina, or somewhere on that side of the coin, you could load up the sled at a very lightweight and push it for distance. And I remember years ago, me and a couple friends, we did this like mile sled push. I don't remember how much
Oh,
weight
that'd
was
be
on there. It
fun.
wasn't too much, I would assume. And we would just kind of switch off for the mile, and it was tons of fun. And so if you want to do, the endurance based type workout, you absolutely can. Now, if you are someone that is more interested in, say, building muscle, you could even incorporate it into that type of a program. Put just enough weight on there. I would call it a moderate load, something like that, to where you're pushing for 20, 30 seconds, something in that ballpark. That's not exact, but you get the point. You could use it in that type of routine. Or another really fun way to use it, if you're in, say, like a strength phase where that's what you're going for at that time, load that sucker up, push it for 25 meters or so, and you're going to get a fantastic workout. And don't get me wrong, that no matter how far you go with a sled, like, you're going to get your butt kicked and you're going to get
Yeah.
humbled
Yep.
just about any time you use it. It looks very easy. It is easy in the sense as far as like learning the tool,
Yeah.
but it's really gonna kick your butt. But yeah, if you're going for, like, say, strength, so the one consideration is put enough weight on there to where it's not something you can push for 2 or 3 minutes. You want to make sure the time under tension isn't very long, or you're kind of defeating the point of going for more of, a strength bias. So that is reason number one, the versatility.
As far
Oh, I
as
actually, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, I thought you were transitioning to the next thing.
Yeah, I forgot to bring up one point with that, with the versatility. It's great for active recovery. So say you want to have a really light day, say you've had a couple hard days in a row, put, again, just light weight on there and push it really slow at a low intensity, and it's full body for the most part. So you're getting a great active recovery or active rest type of a workout if you want to do it on that day too.
I was just gonna say, as far as practical application goes, it doesn't get much more effective than sled training because the reality is in life, if we're out and about and we're gonna have to move something big and heavy, chances are it's gonna be something that you have to push or pull, right? So, like, for example, the most often like occurring thing like this is your car dies and you've got to push your car, right? I don't think I need to break down the benefits of pushing a sled that they would give you for pushing a car, right? You're basically doing the same thing. That said, like Jake, I am biased as well. As you guys know, I grew up playing football, and unlike Jake, I was a lineman, so I got to know sleds pretty well pretty early on. And they were always something I really enjoyed, even though they were challenging. They're not complex, but they're tough. Like Jake said, they will humble you. There are certain exercises that are kind of like great equalizers, and sled work is certainly one of them. Another thing to keep in mind is that if you want to train this way, you don't necessarily need a sled. There are alternative ways to train in this way, such as A lot of trainers have a vest that they put on their clients, and they've got either ropes or some kind of restraints that they're holding, and they're applying resistance to their client who's pushing forward. So that's actually a real life example of what we use at Tri-Valley Trainer, because we don't have a sled. We have that system in place instead, which is for most people going to be a lot more accessible from a in-home standpoint. A lot of great gyms will have a sled, but not necessarily. So yeah, as far as workouts go that emulate real life, doesn't get much better than this.
And I love that you said, I totally forgot to even bring that up, is you said push and pull. That is a fantastic point. You could pull it, you can walk backwards, you can push it forwards, you could go sideways, you can do so many different things with it. You can even attach ropes to it, like you're saying. You can literally pull it and do a back workout if you wanted to. Traditionally, people, it's more of a forward push type of movement, or like a prowler push, some people call it, but still there's so many different ways to use it. So that's a great point. My next point here that I wanted to bring up was the simplicity with this movement. I know Clayton just touched on this a little bit. So what I love is, generally speaking, using a sled is low skill, quote unquote. It doesn't take you too long to learn. Now, if we look at other movements, especially if it's more along the lines of full body, that could take a lifetime to learn. For example, say a squat. I feel like I'm trying to perfect or better my squat every single time that I'm in the gym. I notice something that I don't like that I'm doing, or something that I can improve, whether that's with how I'm actually moving, the speed at what I'm moving, or just my technique in general, whatever it may be. I feel like there's something that I can improve just about every time. Now, with the sled, for the most part, you can go over a few basic points with someone. They can get on that thing and go. And most of the time, people aren't doing it incorrectly. Now, I don't want to say incorrectly like just because someone moves differently than someone else, that means it's incorrect, but meaning like that people just get it with the sled. You know, you bend down, you have a tight core, you can extend your arms or not. It's totally up to you, and you go. So I love the fact it's not going to take years to master this skill, and you can get someone doing this right away. And remember, like we said, don't confuse simple with how challenging the movement actually is, because it's going to definitely hurt your ego a little bit using that sled.
Jake, you said it as I was all gonna jump up to say it, and you said it. This is a great thing. Hey, you trainers listening out there, this is a great thing for a client who is having trouble putting specific mechanics together, because what it does is it takes them out of their brain of how do I put these mechanics together to work, and it puts a challenge in front of them that says, okay, how do I move this thing? Which is, we're playing that same game either way, but framing it differently gives a whole new kind of light to it, because all of a sudden you're asking, instead of asking your client to learn something new in order to accomplish X goal, you're just saying, hey, here's a thing. I want this thing over here. You know what I mean? And then they kind of have to figure it out. Yeah. So, I mean, and of course you're there to help them figure it out is the key to that. But it goes without saying.
You know what I love too is like the face. So someone that really kicks into high gear on the sled, everyone makes that same face when they're done. They come up, their face is red, their hands are on their side, they're breathing really hard. It's that sled face that I used to see all the time.
I thought you were talking about the kid poop face when they're straining to push the
same thing though, right? or the worst part too, when you're moving a sled, especially if it's outside, because where I used to do sled pushes, like when I learned to do them, we would do them on the concrete or the asphalt, and there would be those little patches where it would just get sticky for whatever reason. So all of a sudden you would stop and you're driving your legs as hard as you can, and you're not moving an inch. So that was fun in its own regard. But where I do them now, it's inside, so it's like the same material all the way across the gym or whatever. But the sled face, it's the same every single time for everyone when someone's really pushing it. So
you know what that reminds me of? You're talking about the sled getting caught. Is skateboarding or rollerblading or whatever you did back in the day, but skateboarding was the one I really remember. And like you just going along, you'd be going, you're jamming, and then like the teeniest little piece of gravel will come by, and you're Supermaning across. Exactly, you're full, hands out in front of you. Hopefully, back in our day, it was before helmets were popular, and so we got very used to wrapping the head.
Yeah, I've fallen victim to that many times.
Yeah.
Did you guys rollerblade at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We both
Rollerblade,
did.
okay. What about like skateboarding? Which was like your bigger thing as a kid?
I think I skateboarded a lot more often, but I think I was a lot better at rollerblading for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
But I chose a skateboard a lot more often.
Yeah.
I
I
feel
thought
like
skating was way cooler.
yeah, and that was the thing is it was kind of like skiing and snowboarding. Like nobody wants at that time. Nobody wanted to ski. Now like there's like we've seen that there's hella cool skiers out there doing even cooler stuff than the snowboarders are doing. So that's shifted big time. But when we were growing up, it was like you didn't wear a helmet and you didn't ski. You snowboarded. Even if you knew how to ski, you still went out and snowboarded because that was the cool thing to do, right? I mean, keep in mind, guys, this was, late 90s, early 2000s, frosted tips was the preferred hairstyle. So,
That's right.
whatever that's all worth,
Yeah.
So yeah, we go from sleds to frosted tips there. I don't even know how we just did that, but we somehow managed to. So that was just our first 2 points. Now, moving on to our third one, and that is there's almost no eccentric load, also known as the negative portion of the movement. So an example would be when you're doing, say, a bench press, when you're lowering the bar down toward your chest, that would be considered the eccentric part. Now here's why this is important. Normally, the eccentric portion of a lift tends to get you a little bit more sore and has potential to cause more muscle damage, which isn't a bad thing. That is normally part of the muscle building process. But it is good to know there's movements that aren't going to fatigue you to the point where the next few workouts are going to be much more difficult because of how sore you are. So it's something to keep in mind. You can program these in just about, any day that you have, and you're not going to have to so much like worry about, okay, how is this going to affect me negatively the next day? So if you've ever done, say, negative pull-ups before, you're going to get very sore if you've never done those before. Because of the negative portion, because of that eccentric portion. So it's just something to keep in mind. There's almost no eccentric part. Now, I don't want to say you can't get sore from doing sleds because that's not correct either. If there's any new stimulus or demand that you're placing on your body, there's the potential that you're going to get sore. That's just the way it goes. But with little to no eccentric portion of this movement, that is not something you have to worry about as much. Also, on that note, people with knee injuries or knee problems tend to do well with using the sled. I'm not saying go out there if you have a busted up knee and, go full send on the sled. But I have noticed if someone does have issues with their knee and say they have knee pain while they're squatting, if you go over to the sled and you load it up light, it tends not to increase someone's pain. So just a really cool thing to think about or to note when you do have knee pain. I've seen Clay, what's his name? The knees over toes guy. Do you remember
his name is Knees Over Toes Guy to me.
Ben something? Does that ring a bell?
It does. It definitely does. But I think he should just change his name to Knees Over Toes Guy because that's how everybody knows him.
So I have seen in some of his programs, I've just seen snippets of it. I don't know, about every little thing he does, but I've seen him have people do like a backwards type of walk.
Yeah, with the sled.
People with the sled.
Yeah,
with,
it's cool.
With knee pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's
just something really cool to think about because time to time I'll get knee pain and doing, different variations of squats might, worsen my pain a little bit. So pushing the sled doesn't, 99% of the time or even more. So just something really cool with the sled there.
So as somebody who has knee problems, so we've talked about this a little bit, but I played football and volleyball growing up, and as a result, I have chronic knee pain, and I have my whole life, or I have since 16 or so, 15, 16, and I will the rest of my life. It's just one of those things. For me, I find that I have less knee pain the fitter, the stronger and more flexible and generally better shape my legs and specifically the muscles right around my knee, kind of above and below. For me, having practicing stuff like the sled and for me it is squats really do work for me. So Jake's talking about he sometimes having problems with squats. For me, doing squats and doing stuff like these concentric motions in particular that you have to do with the sled are some of the best things that I can do to relieve my knee pain. And my guess is that it's right in line with the same things that knees over toes guy is talking about. And I actually plan on at some point kind of diving into his material better, because as an ex-athlete who has knee problems, I'm his demographic, right? So I would like to, maybe at one point we'll be able to speak to this more, directly, because I might even check out I know he offers some kind of coaching program stuff. I don't think I'm going to go that full route, but I would be interested in seeing, like, as somebody with the knee pain, like, that's the place to be if you're interested in helping knee pain and you don't want to go into physical therapy, right? Or
are we talking about Ben Patrick here for
Ben
knees over
Patrick.
toes?
Oh, producer strikes again.
Did you look him up, or did you already know?
I looked it up.
Okay, I was like, dang, we were sitting there and couldn't remember. All of a sudden, AJ just fires one. Okay,
he's flexing
Ben
those
Patrick.
producer muscles, bro. The gym this way, this way.
Okay, Ben Patrick. Okay, awesome, sweet.
Ben Patrick.
Ben Patrick. Okay, good to know. Yeah, his content does look very interesting. I heard him on an interview on Darren Woodson's podcast. I'm forgetting the name right now. Oh, the One Shot podcast. That's what it's called. And he had a pretty fascinating story and dealt with a lot of knee issues. So it's pretty cool to see someone, he dedicated his life to helping people that have knee pain. So definitely something to check out there. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic today, and that is the most underrated meal of the day. Now, this is just my opinion. I do hear many arguments for other meals. Like, for example, you hear people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I do hear the reasoning behind that, and it makes sense. Or people that participate in fitness, especially, say, bodybuilders, they will say maybe the post-workout meal is the most important meal of the day. But I would like to make the argument that equally as important, definitely underrated, is your pre-workout meal. Something that I noticed, over the years is a lot of people that I trained with, they would train fasted. Now, there's nothing wrong with that per se. You can still improve, you can still make gains, at least in some capacity. I saw people do it firsthand and did very well. But think of how much better most people are going to do if you properly fuel your body before you work out. Now, for most people, that's going to look something like fueling your body with enough carbohydrates and then getting an adequate amount of proteins. As far as fats, especially if you're eating them right before you work out, sometimes they tend to sit in your stomach a little bit since it's more of a sustained release type of macronutrient. So for me personally, I don't like to have really any fats at all before I work out. I stick to more of the higher carb and then protein beforehand. But I would like to propose the argument. What do you think, Clay?
I really like it, and like a lot of times that we talk about things, I'm going to agree with you and slightly disagree with you at the same time. And that's because I'm going to say that the most underrated meal of the day, and it's kind of a cop-out, as a lot of my answers are, so apologies. I think the most underrated meal of the day is the meal that you are missing. So there's a lot of people out there who choose not to eat breakfast. That's absolutely your most underrated meal. And included, breakfast might be your pre-workout meal too. So you might be doubling up on your missed opportunity to fuel yourself. But just as troublesome, can be lunch or dinner, because if we miss dinner regularly, then what happens is we are oftentimes ravenous by the time we go to bed and are dealing with feelings of hunger and whether we should start eating or whether we should eat right then, which may or may not even be a problem, so I'm not saying that it necessarily is, as much as I'm saying we should be eating when we feel hungry. And if we're missing a meal at any given point, we're probably going to feel hungry because of that. And so unless you're trying to cut, which if you're trying to cut, you're going to feel hungry. If you're trying to cut and lose body fat in this very specific way, you're going to feel hungry, right? But when we're talking about most of us, I would say yes, 100% to the most underrated meal being what Jake said, the pre-workout meal. But also, that's the best answer to me if you have nailed all the rest of your food, right? But you want to have consistent food throughout the day as according to your own body and your circadian rhythms and your own, I said circadian rhythms, but your sleep cycles and your eating cycles and the amount of light you're getting and the amount of workout, blah, 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 right? The idea being that, if you're missing something, you're missing something. So.
And I just want, to test some of you, the ones that work out fasted. I know for many, the reason you do that, or for some at least, is you train in the morning and you don't really have the stomach to take in a full meal, which is completely understood.
Totally.
But I do challenge you, if you're someone that works out in the morning and you don't want to get anything in your stomach, have something, at least a little bit, something light, even if it's on the way to the gym. This could be a banana, it could be oatmeal, it could be something very small, or dried fruit, anything like that. Test it out and see how you feel, and see if you notice pretty quick improvements in your performance. It's funny because I'm so sensitive to that stuff. Sometimes I notice in like 30 seconds if I didn't eat enough carbohydrates before my workout, and then if I didn't have enough water, especially those two things happen. And then I'll hear people say they don't drink any water at all before the gym and they don't eat. I'm like, man, I would feel like such garbage if I didn't do those things. But challenge yourself. Just try that. You don't have to take down a full meal. If you're someone that trains fasted, have a little something before you train and see if it positively affects your performance.
Also,
AJ,
I'm sorry, I'll go to AJ's. But also, if you are training fasted, another part of this equation is how much are you eating when you're eating your last meal before you're fasting. That's also a contributing factor towards how you're going to feel during your workout if you are working out fasted.
Great point. So like if someone was, woke up and didn't eat and went to the gym, getting a nice meal the night before. That's a fantastic point there, Clay. AJ, I did have to ask you, are you still eating graham crackers and peanut butter before you work out like me and you used to do?
Oh man, I haven't had graham crackers in a long time. Peanut butter, yes, like all the time.
Okay,
The peanut butter is
awesome.
always on hand.
Okay, I just had to make sure.
I kind of wanted to touch on that too a little bit. Like I've noticing with my recent workouts, having a proper meal before has increased the quality for me personally.
Nice.
And when I don't, it's just the workout is strenuous almost, and I'm just kind of giving up from the beginning. So like in my workouts, I'm doing like 10 to 20 minutes of a light cardio of some sort, just as a warm up. And if I don't have any proper food, an hour and a half, 2 hours beforehand, like I don't even want to finish my warm up. It seems like
You're like, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah, it's just the energy's not there, and it's just not at the end of the day, not a good workout. So I'm on the page of the pre-workout meal. I think it's very important.
Love it. And AJ touched on a great point too. I heard him say like an hour or two beforehand. Everyone's going to be a little different, but the magic number there tends for most people to be somewhere in the ballpark of eating 2 hours before. I would say it's also dependent on the volume of food you eat and the calories. If you're someone that likes to get a full meal that's balanced, with proteins, carbs, and fats, like a full-on meal, then probably lean toward more of that 2 hours, maybe even, longer before if you can. Some people do 3 hours. For me personally, that's a little too long. But if you're someone that eats more on the lighter side beforehand, maybe not quite as many calories as a normal meal, then that's when you're looking more at like the 1 hour, the hour and a half. But the 2 hours, like AJ said, that's a great starting point. But if you wake up really early and you head straight to the gym, just get something small on the way there. Whether that was dried fruit, whether that was
Granola.
regular fruit, whatever it is, and give that a go.
Oatmeal, a little bit of light oatmeal.
Oatmeal, that I have that every morning. That's part of my pre-workout meal.
That's the best. Oatmeal is such a good early morning because I'm not a big morning eater. I don't like eating in the morning, but I make myself, and oatmeal is a great option when you're just like I didn't mean to make the fart sound twice in one podcast, but it's like sometimes you're just feeling kind of farty. You know what I mean? And I don't mean gassy, just like poopy in terms of like I don't want to mumble grumble, right? Oatmeal, little water, little instant oats, you're done.
Dude, that's why I do it, because especially if I'm training early in the morning, it just sits in my stomach better than something else. It feels pretty light to me. Oatmeal is like a staple for me for sure. So, love your thinking there. All right, moving on, everyone, to the Q&A for the day with the question of, can you gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time, also known as recomping? And so to answer this question, I'm not going to say it depends like I normally do, but I will start this off by saying, yes. You can. You can
Absolutely.
do these two things. And also remember, when we're saying this, gaining muscle and losing body fat, don't think of it like in a vacuum, like in a 24-hour period or an hour period, because if you got very technical and looked at it on a second by second basis, technically I guess you could say you're not gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time, but that's splitting hairs. So if we're looking at a 3-month phase or 6-month, whatever it is, during that time, can you lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time? And the answer is absolutely, but there's a few scenarios where this is more likely to happen. So the first scenario is someone that is new to training. So you can think of newbie gains. Someone is in the gym, doesn't have experience, and you're going to notice they're probably going to gain a decent amount of strength after a couple months, put on a little bit of muscle, and then you can absolutely lose body fat. That's one of the more common scenarios that you would see this. The next situation where you would see this is someone that is significantly overweight. So someone that's very overweight, when they start resistance training and they start losing body fat, it is definitely possible for both of those things to happen at the same time. I would venture to say, if they're consistent, that would actually be the normal for that person, depending on how overweight they were. So that's at number 2.
Absolutely.
The third one, this one is not quite as common, but is definitely possible. This is someone that does have training experience, say even years of training. They get injured and they're on a training hiatus. So maybe they haven't done resistance training. It could be a year, it could be months, whatever it is. So they take a break. So when that person steps back into the gym, they possibly have a little bit more body fat and they've probably lost some muscle. So that person in that scenario can absolutely gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time. The next scenario is someone that is using performance-enhancing drugs like steroids. That would be definitely more common. I don't have anything juicy for you guys there. That's just a scenario that can definitely happen when you're using performance-enhancing drugs. So yeah, those are the main scenarios that you see this happen. And there's debates on Instagram about this all the time. You see people arguing about this. About whether you should, whether you could. I think a better way to look at this is if you're someone that has specific goals, right? Whether that's you want to build as much muscle as you can, you also want to be lean, those are very important to you. Then after you have some experience training under your belt, a couple years or so, it's going to be more optimal if you pick one and focus on one at a time. So for example, for, 6 months or however long you decide, you focus more on building muscle. You're probably going to put on a little bit of body fat. That's pretty common. And then from there, you spend some time in a cut or a leaning out phase and switching back and forth. So I would say that if you have lots of experience. It is going to be very challenging for a natural lifter to do or accomplish both of these things at the exact same time. So I would recommend picking one and then going back and forth if you so choose. I do want to mention though, if you're someone that just enjoys getting in the gym, you don't really care about specific goals like I need to gain this much more muscle, or I want to lean out this much. You just kind of you go and it makes you feel good, and you don't really care about those specifics. It doesn't really matter then.
Yeah,
You could
beautiful.
get in there, you could do your workout, and I'm sure over the course of many years you're still going to make improvements. They're just going to be a lot slower,
Hmm.
as we've mentioned this saying before, which I did not come up with. But if you try to catch two rabbits at one time, you're
Hmm.
probably not going to catch either of them. So just something to keep in mind. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
No.
If you just want to go in the gym, you want to get a nice little sweat. It's something you do to feel good, to help with your mental health,
Yep.
to whatever the reason you go to the gym is for. You don't need to do those two things. The issue is when people want both of those things, like building muscle and they want to be leaner, but they never dedicate themselves to one or the other
Yeah.
at one time. That's where the issue would be, I would say.
As a trainer, I see two distinct groups that Jake is talking about here. And you, as a person, I see that because you outlined it as such. But one of these groups is a person who just wants to go and improve their life. The other person is somebody who wants to go and specifically raise the weight, somebody who specifically wants to lower their body fat, right? Like Jake says, if you're trying to do one of these things, there is a more nuanced, exacting, and specific way to get there. And if you want to get to that kind of, like, I hate to use the term, but like, like that Hollywood, kind of like really like you want to be taking the pictures and stuff. That's kind of, you kind of have to do that extra level of, gaining and cutting separately, because that's the way it's done, generally speaking. But for like, random number I'm going to throw out, I'd guess 70 to 75% of the population. That's not what you're talking about. You're the first person, you're the first category of people who are there to have a longer, happier, healthier life, and maybe better mental health, or better, more happiness, right? So, if you're doing that, just do the things you want to do. Just make sure you're doing them safely.
And I did want to throw out there too. When I used to do CrossFit, I did notice over the years that I was there was certain people that were there that would push themselves, red line, go
Mhm.
100%, every time they train. And, over time they would add more weight to the bar with whatever lift it was, or go faster with whatever, exercise or workout of the day we're doing that day. But there were some people I did notice after a couple years, every time they went to back squat, this could have been year 1 or year 3, the same weight was on the bar every time. And at
Mhm.
first I was like, I don't get it. Like, why you do that so well, you perform those
Mhm.
5 reps perfectly and you're not struggling, and it's been years and you still do that. And so after a while I started to realize some people are there just to do that. They don't care about, okay, I need to get as big as possible or as strong as possible or as lean as possible. They're there just to feel good.
Yeah.
Um,
So nothing wrong with that. AJ, what else you got before we wrap up here?
I mean, that's just a good point right there. I don't know. I don't really have much. I think you guys touched on it pretty well.
Awesome. Are you right now? Would you consider yourself a generalist, like you're just going in there, or do you have more of the specific goals right now?
So right now I am generally just trying to stay healthy at this
Cool.
moment in time. When I COVID happened and I, stopped working for a little while, I was kind of overweight. I'd gained like 25 pounds in the course of a couple of years. So at that point, I was definitely focused on trying to lose some fat. Not really focused on muscle at all. Just kind of doing cardio, eating better, having a more balanced diet, which I did, and I succeeded. End up losing 28 pounds altogether
There you
Nice.
and
go.
got down to where I wanted to be, about 165, I would say right now, give or take a couple.
Nice.
And then right now I'm just trying to maintain myself. in the gym.
Perfect.
Just general workout,
You
staying
know,
healthy.
I noticed in the last few pictures I saw of you on whatever social media, I was like, "Oh, damn, dude, he's looking a lot like Rich in a really good way." Because your dad's a fit, handsome man, and
King
you
Rich
really,
to you.
yeah, right, King Rich, King Rich.
That's right.
No, I always called him Mr. M. He was Mr. M to me, but. You'll hear, I'm sure, with Andrew on board now, you'll hear me and Jake refer to Mr. M or King Rich often because he was I mean, a father figure for both of us. I think it's fair to say, you know. I know I should only speak for myself, but certainly the one or two times that I was chastised or got in trouble with Rich, or were the times I was like, oh shit, I don't want to, this is not the person I want to be in trouble with right now, you know.
Oh, awesome. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the show. And if you see there's a little place where you can leave us a review. And if you did find value in the content today, it would be greatly appreciated if you left us a review. It will help us grow tremendously. You can find us on Instagram at Mission Driven Made, and you can also find us on what is called the Forum. That is our free online fitness platform, and it's a place you can go and connect and communicate with other listeners of the podcast. And it's also a place you can go and ask us questions. So any fitness related question that you have, shoot us a question there, and we would be happy to answer it for you. You're also going to see a link in the show notes to get to the forum. If not, you can just go to Facebook and type in Mission Driven Made, the forum, and we'd be happy to have you. All right, everyone, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, stay mission driven.
All right, Twitch viewers, now's a chance. You got your live Q&A section where we answer questions that you have. So if you have any, shout them out. Otherwise, as per usual, we'll be signing off, and we'll be back tomorrow around 3:30 Pacific time, 3:30 to 4, depending on when we actually get rolling. But make sure you come back. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Recording stopped.